This is Jake.
Get in here, sit down.
We've
Come on,
lost
you're in now.
squirrels. He's
Come on.
chasing his dog, chasing squirrels. Unbelievable. Bob, man, come on, let's get it going. Quit chasing them squirrels. But today we have a great guest. We've got Matt. Matt's been on a couple of things with me and Bob, but Matt's doing an awesome job. He's an attorney. He's representing employees of the state. And so we're wanting to talk today about how the system has been hijacked, how it has been maneuvered so that I believe that when Stephen Harp was OMES director, that he changed the merit protection. He changed a bunch of things in purchasing. And it appears that all of this has been so that it makes it easier to fire people. It makes it easier to hire the people that you want. And that, again, the whole system was, I think, set up so that people would not be able to win in the court system. But Matt, you've been winning in the court system. So if you could kind of explain why we've asked you on here and what's been happening in the last few months or especially weeks, and let our listeners know what's going on.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And thank you for the kind words. You know, we used to work under this merit system, and several years ago, it was changed to the Civil Service Division, and really it made it a lot harder on state employees to prosecute or defend themselves in a termination or a discipline case. They revamped it totally, and on its face, it really looked like it was going to be really hard for employees to be successful in the new system. And fortunately, it hasn't been that way. I have, without patting myself on the back, I've had some success under this new system, primarily against the Department of Corrections, but I have wins against other state agencies as well. So that's a real, was a real pleasant surprise when I started working in this new system and found out that that it does give employees not as much. I mean, it's still tough. I mean, a lot tougher than merit, but it does give the employees some due process rights. When it comes to DOC, that's where my greatest success has come in the last.
Come on, get in here. Come on.
Since 2000.
Get in here. Gotta go sit down.
I've won.
You're both in timeout now. This is your timeout for us today.
Bob, we can't even talk. You got to get in here.
Bob, can you put your squirt up?
What is it?
Up. Bob, we can't even have a conversation. Go
well, the dogs, this squirrel's driving them crazy, and they're going to tear the blinds up if I don't get them settled down.
But what I was saying, JJ, I have had some success against DOC, and since January of 2023, I've been able to get 6 employees reinstatement orders from judge or judges, but unfortunately, as of today, here we are, April 21st, 2024, none of those 6 employees have gone back to work. So while
the courts are ordering, it's not you're winning the cases, but the courts are ordering the Department of Corrections to put these people back to work. One of them was the whistleblower. You actually won 2 cases in her case, I think. The whistleblower, Dr. Lewis.
Go ahead.
No, in Dr. Lewis's case, you won twice, and they told him twice to put her back to work, and they refused. Another one is another case that we have done a lot of airtime on, which is the Tifa Tiller case, which I think in this case, we had won a sexual assault case on her. And then I think this case stems from that and really is retaliation because the reason they they let her go this time was just, in my opinion, ridiculous, or it appeared on face value from what I could see to not have merit. And so you won that one. Recently won one where the guy had been employed for 30-something years. If I remember, in that case, the warden come over and took control of the situation and then end up firing him. Why would the person in control not get fired instead of this guy who'd been employed for over 30 years and they fire him? But those are the kind of things that we're looking at. Is it not? I mean, the cases are ridiculous. Matt, are they showing up with any kind of case or what's going on in the courtroom?
Well, and this is my belief. I think DOC has taken the position that because they have an investigative unit, OIG, that if OIG investigates a case, then DOC's decision on discipline out of that investigation should not and cannot be questioned. I think that's their position. That's what they believe. And so, they come into these cases and they really come in, full of confidence, so much confidence that they don't do anything in trial. The last 2 or 3 cases, they haven't called a single witness, and just basically stand on, you can't question our disciplinary actions. And so as such, now DOC has all 6 reinstatement orders. DOC has either filed a motion to reconsider, which is a quasi appeal, or have filed an appeal directly to district court. So there, and let me preface this with, DOC has the right to appeal. That's part of our legal process. But really, they are violating the spirit of the law, because when you appeal because you believe there is an appealable issue. We've had 2 cases now before the judge has even issued a order. DOC is asking for the transcript so they can appeal. Imagine that. You don't have an order yet, but they're already telling the court, give us the transcript of the hearing so we can start our appeal. Because out here at Civil Service Division, the judge has 10 days after the trial to get you an order. So during that 10 days, they're already saying, hey, give us the stuff so we can start our appeal. So, and that's problematic for me, not as an attorney, not as Tifa Tiller's attorney, not as with Dr. Lewis's attorney. No, that's me as a taxpayer, because you know why? If there's a reinstatement order, these employees are going to get back pay from the day they were terminated. I think Dr. Lewis was terminated in January of 23. So she's well over a year's out of work with a reinstatement order, and she makes nearly $100,000 a year. And so as a taxpayer, I'm like, you're going to pay her over $100,000 if you settle it today, or if you resolve it today. And she sat on her rear this whole time doing nothing for the state. I think that's fiscally irresponsible. Another thing that they're doing is when they appeal it to district court, they go out and they hire themselves big high dollar lawyers. Okay, so the Department of Corrections attorneys aren't even handling the appeals that go to district court. Those appeals are handled by attorneys that charge $350, $400, $500 an hour, and you're paying for that, and Bobby, you're paying for that, and I'm paying for that. And then on top of that, if I'm successful, the statute allows for attorney fees. So I'm able to get the attorney's fees back from them too. And so each time, Dr. Lewis's case, we got the trial done. I filed for attorney fees. I was granted attorney fees. They appeal it. We get that order. I file an amended motion for attorney fees with my added cost and expenses. So it's just, if I can, and I know I'm biased, but if I could see a reason to appeal, and there was one case that I felt like Boy, if I was DOC, I sure would appeal, because I thought the judge made, some mistakes in the case. But for that one, all the rest of them, I mean, we have former Warden Pettigrew is one of my clients, and we still to this day don't know why they terminated him. And they just sent him a letter saying, for the good of the agency, you're out, you're terminated. And what happened is they failed to do what the statute said to do in identifying Warden Pettigrew as a 5% or exempt employee. They just didn't do it. But rather than say, okay, we made a mistake, we're going to up our mistake, they're going to appeal this to the Supreme Court. And you're going to pay.
Well, and just so our listeners understand, there's a process that the department, any other state agency has to go through in order to fire somebody.
Okay, let's go outside.
So normally you identify the problems, unless it's so heinous, they're keeping it heinous and they ended up, just firing them. But normally what you do is you come in, you say, Matt, you're not doing what I need you to do. Matt, you coming in late, you need to start coming in time. Matt, you're not following our orders, you need to do this. And you tell that person what's going on, and you try to provide instructions on how to change that. And Matt, what I'm seeing over there, they just walk in as they did with Case Pettigrew. They, you're fired. Reason we're just letting you go. They did that to the doctor. We had a doctor up there. They did that to. They did it to the communications director. And again, they just keep on doing this to multiple wardens. And so they're not following what they have as their own policy as to how they're supposed to act in this. And then when they're showing up, and a lot of these you mentioned a while ago that their OIG, which is kind of like their internal affairs division, is doing these investigations. And half of them, why are OIG even involved? I looked at many cases and go, what is OIG even doing investigations on these issues? These are in-house issues that are not criminal in nature, and they're doing these full investigations. And when we give them something that they should do an investigation on, they're not following through with that. Very, very frustrating in that. But here's, like you said, with the doctor, by the time you get this settled with the doctor, you were saying 100,000. I'm going to say it'll be more like 200,000 back pay. And again, she's not done anything, but correct me if I'm wrong. Here she's been without pay this whole time. They've ruined her career quite a bit. They've harmed her career. Will she have any recourse as to file a civil suit against them if she wins this case?
That's all to be determined. I wouldn't say that that's off the table. Right. It just, Bobby, it's their unreasonable stance that they shouldn't be questioned. That they what they say goes, and that if they have OIG investigated, by golly, OIG is infallible. So there is your reasonable basis, which is the standard out at civil service. We have to show that there was no reasonable basis for the termination or the discipline. But they say that OIG investigative report is the Bible, and it can't be questioned. But Ashley T. Fatiller is a prime example where that investigation was flawed. Okay, in the letter of termination, they identified her actions. Okay, and they said you did X, Y, and Z. And in the way they told you that what she did, it made her conduct appear to be retaliatory in nature. But watch the video. And the video is not consistent with what they wrote down in that paper. In fact, it's so clearly obvious that it's the letter of termination was incorrect factually that all you have to do is look at the video one time and see that's not right. And that made a big difference. She didn't look like it was retaliatory. when you actually saw what she did. So OIG is not infallible. They make mistakes.
Well, Matt, you know, OIG, when you look at this, who's OIG? Who's the boss?
Well,
who is their in the boss? It's Harp.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, you know, and so the OIG, who is DOC's investigative arm, is investigating or creating the evidence to support what DOC wants to do, i.e., terminate or discipline employees.
Well,
exactly.
Matt, if you talk about Tifa Tiller, so before this incident, Tifa Tiller gets assaulted by her lieutenant, held down in a chair, dry hump, kissed on. She tries to file on him through the department. They wouldn't hear it. In fact, they made up a bogus story that she was showing herself, showing her boobs to him.
I don't know what happened to him. Time today.
Yeah, we're having a rough time today. But Matt, what I was talking to Bob about is that Stephen Harp was the director of OMES when we came up with the how to change merit protection over to civil service. And what that did, it destroyed many of the ways that people had to protect themselves, employees. And so again, I just thought that they really believed that this would be a better system and they were looking for a way to fix problems in the system. I didn't think there was anything really plotted out to make it to where they could do, nepotism and favor.
They wanted an easier way to fire people. That's what they were looking for.
But now, Bob, you know what? I've been looking at several other agencies. I was investigating an agency the other day on some money issues, and what these employees are saying that if you walk in there and go, hey, this bidding process is wrong, which again was my understanding, and I'm just saying my understanding, a bunch of this was changed under OMES. But if you walk in there and say, hey, y'all's wrong, guess what's going to happen? You'll find another
fire.
You're gone. And what they're wanting to do is get rid of anybody who has experience. So all your experienced hands that are able to say, no, this is wrong. The way y'all's doing this, look at policy, follow policy. Anybody questions anything, they're gone. And then you turn around and hire people that's not going to question, that don't have the experience to question. And this looks like it's going on not just in the Department of Corrections. I think the Department of Corrections is that on steroids, but it's going on throughout the state agencies. And it's unbelievable the amount of nepotism, favoritism, cronyism, all the isms that are going on, and how this has created massive issues in our purchasing and in the way that we do our purchases. It's opened the door for a lot of illegal crap is what it's done. Matt, are you seeing anything? I mean, you mainly deal with DOC, but have you worked with anybody else in any other agencies and seen that?
Well, not direct. Well, I have worked with other agencies, but the problem is I've worked with DOC so much that I see I'm able to see the changes. For instance, I had a case with the Department of Agriculture, but that was one of 3 cases I've had in the last 7 years. So I don't really get to see much. Now with DOC, I'm seeing how it slowly goes, how we've gone to more terminations. I've seen how their legal department has been less likely to negotiate when you do have something other than a termination. They're less likely to come in and say, "Hey, we suspended you for 10 days. We thought that was good enough." And the employee says, "Well, I think that's too much." They have trended to where they're not willing to negotiate. And those are cases where, hey, you talk with DOC, you say, hey, maybe they violated a policy, but 10 days seems a little excessive. Would you give them 5? And a lot of times you can get rid of cases in the court system by doing that. And the employee's still mad that, yeah, I got disciplined, but hey, I wasn't 10 days. So you try to work through that. But I haven't worked enough with other agencies to really see that, but it's there. I mean, this mentality that the agency can do whatever it wants, hire whoever it wants, fire whoever it wants, and nobody can question them, I think is something that's going through this state at a lot of agencies. And it's their ability to terminate employees at will, basically, emboldens them. And and that's what's happened with DOC, I think, is they've just got more and more. And a lot of DOC, I mean, I don't know how many employees a month DOC terminates. I think it's a lot. And most of them don't fight their discipline. They just say, heck with it. Well, I'm done.
Can I ask you, Matt, of all the cases that you've been working on here lately, would you consider any of them any more serious than you discharging a firearm off in your floor in office? And would you consider that pretty serious? And I didn't see any discipline. I didn't hear any discipline on that. If some was taking place.
I don't think he even answered your response, JJ,
no.
About his records. Does he have anything to show he'd been to the cleat? He didn't show anything, and he didn't take any kind of a demotion or did get anything done to him. Well, that's like he fired that girl for eating a slice of pizza, and he shoots a gun off in a building with 100 people in it.
Sure. Right. No, I haven't come across a case.
Did we lose him again? Boy, we're having a tough time. Bob, here's the thing. Not only have we not come across, because that's what he was saying, is that we haven't come across anybody that's had any more serious violation than that, but we didn't see that gentleman. We didn't see the director fired over anything, but we'll fire everybody else for just Mickey Mouse stuff. We'll ignore, and that's the big part of what I wanted. We were kind of getting to where I wanted to have a discussion today. And the thing that I want to have a discussion on is that these agency, these unelected bureaucrats have got more power than the elected officials. And Bob, they've got to where they tell me, hey, I'm not giving you that. Or they just don't even respond. And here's the problem, Bob. Our people at the Capitol allow them to do it. Now, I would come after them, but guess what? Now the Capitol said, no, JJ, you can't go after them unless you go through us. Well, then when I try to go through them, guess what? Oh, no, JJ, you're being you're being too far out. You're being a little crazy. Matt, what we're talking about is just how the agencies, these unelected bureaucrats, have gotten to the point to where they won't even respond. If they don't want to respond to you, or if they don't want to give you something, no, we can't show you that. No, you leaked out this, and so we're not giving it to you. Well, what I leak out, what I don't leak out ain't none of their damn business. What I do, I'm an elected official. They answer to me, not me answer to them. And them sons of bucks ought to come to us and say, but our legislators allow them to get by with all this stuff all the time. And it's very, very frustrating to me that we have these unelected bureaucrats that'll walk in, thumb their nose at a court and say, we don't care what you say. Do what you just talked about a while ago. We're not even going to wait until you get your decision. Just give us the stuff. And where you don't count, you don't mean nothing. Your court, and in fact, he's bragged to me about setting the court up. I'm the one who done all that. And now, guess what? What do? We don't care what that court says. We'll just appeal it because we're not appealing on their dime. They're appealing, like you pointed out a while ago, on our dime, and they're costing the people of the state of Oklahoma. And here's the deal. We know that 9 people filed charges or about to file charges. A lot of people don't understand those 9 executives filed an intent to file charges. They had to wait a certain time period before they can file charges. I'm looking for that this week, I hope. I'm hearing it may come pretty quick. And so I'm looking for 9 more. And Matt, if you have 9 people file charges like that, you have your 6 that we're talking about. We know this week that, and we were talking a while ago about an investigation with OIG and whether OIG could mess something up. We turned this shower deal over to them, people being held in 2x2s and all that. They come back and said, well, they were just being in transit holding. We didn't hold anybody past 3 days. Well, how long do you hold somebody in transit just moving them from cell to cell? But at the end of the day, I know and they know, and they've already admitted that they had incident reports from their own employee saying that it did happen, saying that they withheld food, saying they withheld water, saying they didn't give them bathrooms, that they were standing in their own feces. If I remember, I'd have to go back and read the report. But all of that in an incident report, and said it was because of punishment, but yet they come to the conclusion, oh, we were just changing them from cell to cell. How in the world does that happen? Now we're seeing because they failed to do anything, nobody disciplined in that. Now we're seeing a lawsuit get filed. And again, it's already got 7. I've got to call them back and tell them about another one that's involved. I expect that's going to go up to 8. I think there's at least 17 out there. Can you imagine what the cost of that is going to be? And now I told DOC about a guy who got hog-tied and gang raped. And they said, well, JJ needs to come forward with the information. I was like, I thought I just did, you know. And anyways, they failed to investigate, but I've done some investigation. I believe I have that person now, and I believe got pretty good evidence of that. And guess what? That's going to be another lawsuit, as well as the lawsuits of the videotape of the guy that got tattooed on his head, eye broken, as well as the rape cases where we've got inmate on officer on inmate. So, Matt, we're sitting here talking about, I mean, every one of those either has incident reports, video. I mean, they're going to be hard to deny. What kind of price tag, you as a lawyer with those kind of cases, would you like to estimate what kind of price? Would you say millions?
Oh, in the civil, one of the civil rights cases, one of the shower cases could be worth, one inmate could be worth multi-millions of dollars. That, I mean, so you can't put a price tag on it right now. It could be a number that you wouldn't even ever imagine.
Right.
And you know, if a jury comes back and says you violated this inmate's civil rights, and you made them lay in feces and didn't feed them, and they could say, hey, I think that inmate's worth. We're going to give him $3, $4, $5 million.
Well, I don't think that it's going to work anymore when they come back and say, well, we did that didn't happen. That's just like they had on the shower deal. They said it didn't happen. And then what was it, a month later, JJ, they admitted it happened. And then they said, well, it was only for a little while that we did that. And now that didn't happen. But I have officers that are there, seen it.
And now they've come out and said, yeah, JJ, we're not going to release this information because you leaked these incident reports out. Well, all right, now you're admitting that these incident reports are out there and you didn't consider that in your investigation.
And you knew that all along.
And again, these incidents reports are going to be pretty easy to verify the other information in them as to being factual. And so it makes it hard, very, very hard to dismiss. But again, we come out with a report on the inmate that was running from, I think it's some gang members. I'd have to go back and look who he's running from. But inmates ran into one of the offices and called 911 and said, "You got to get down here to this prison and help me." Can you ever imagine? They denied that, and guess what? You play on the tape. They denied the rape thing. Oh, guess what? Look at this tape right here.
Yeah, we see that.
Oh, we investigate that now. You bet. So that's the stuff that we're seeing, Matt. Is that it's going to be, I think, massive lawsuits, and my thing is, I think that's what it's going to take to wake Oklahoma up and wake everybody up to do that. On yours, if you win in district court, all you do is get your fee and the salary back, right?
Essentially, yes. There's nothing. It's money that DOC's owed. I mean, that DOC owes. Right. It's not like this isn't inflated damages. This is money that the employee would have earned had you put him back to work like the judge told you to. Right. So I will tell. Go
ahead, Matt.
Well, I will tell you that in my experience with DOC, well, the thing about it is, in their most recent filing, in a case that I filed a motion for attorney fees after last week getting an order denying their appeal, I filed an amended motion for attorney fees. And in that motion, they said basically that the employee will not go back to work and no attorney fees will be paid until this case has been heard by the Supreme Court of Oklahoma. So, and what's frustrating is they do have the backing of the state. They have as much money as they need. They have as much time as they need to defend these cases. They forget that an employee is still fighting this. And I mean, unfortunately, I have to charge attorney fees. So they're trying to pay me without the job that they had. So the Department of Corrections resources is 100 times what we have. And, part of me says they're just going to wait the employee out. I'll tell you, before we tried Tifa Tiller for the second time, I had to convince her to come to trial because she was just like, I'm tired of it. It's been so long. It's just,
they wait you out.
Yeah. So, it's everything's on their side other than the facts and the fact that a judge has already ruled in most of these cases. 2 judges have ruled, put the employee back to work. So all I can do is just continue to fight. But
they have absolutely zero respect for their employees. Zero respect. You got the guy in there that's been over there 30 years of his life has been dedicated to DOC, that job. They don't care. They don't care about employees. They don't care about nothing.
Well, and their mindset on discipline has changed. In the past, and I did see this. I mean, 3-4 years ago, in the policy it said, I think they changed it now, that discipline was not to punish. That discipline was to make an employee a better employee.
Right.
And they've gone away from that. They don't want to make employees better employees. You either do what they say, don't make waves, and you'll stay an employee. If you question them, if you not liked by your supervisor, you're going to get terminated. And they believe, hey, we're going to have OIG investigate this, and that's a reasonable basis.
Well, Matt, what they believe is if they don't like you, they ought to be able to walk in, and that's what it is. The Stephen Harp, I can tell you what his mindset is. Nobody can speak to somebody else's mindset. Let me just tell you what his actions indicate. So based on his actions, his attitude, is that when he walks in, if I want to fire them, then they're gone. And I don't care. You're just a number. And they've said this. They have said this repeatedly. If you don't like it, leave. And quite often they'll throw an F in there, an F-bomb in there and say that, you don't like it, leave. Now, here's what's funny. And Matt, you work with Department of Corrections. You hear all kinds of stuff as well as me and Bob do. They've never in my career that I've ever seen been as shorthanded, been as desperate in as desperate situation in my career and my knowledge of the Department of Corrections. And I'm going back a long ways. I've never seen them in the as bad as shape right now and in the need of employees. And they just walk in. It doesn't matter anything from a warden level down. They will just walk in and can somebody. You don't agree with us. You don't follow. You get rid of this person or I'll get rid of you. You do this or I'll do that. I'm the boss. You do everything I say. And if you don't do everything I say, if you look at me sideways, I'll get rid of you. Or if I've got a friend over here that I'd like to have your job, I'll get rid of you and bring that friend in, or a friend of a friend. And like I say, that's what it appears to be going on right there. Would you agree with me on that, where you're sitting, or would?
For a lot of it, I do. I see that. It's funny that every single employee that I meet with talks about the shortage of staff. Every single one. I keep asking myself after I meet with the employee. I said, why do they work there? Why?
Yeah. Hey.
Why would you want to work there? But what's funny is most of them love their job, and it boggles my mind, but they love their job.
Right.
So, bottom line, it's going to have to take another mind shift. They're going to have to get out of this mindset that if they would just accept the fact that, hey, we have to have a reason to terminate you, and we have to follow a policy, and we can't fire a 33-year employee with no formal discipline for something minor. Now, I say minor. There was a death that resulted in the incident where the officer that I'm talking about, the lieutenant, was terminated, but his conduct had nothing to do with the death.
Yeah, but here's the deal, Matt. In that situation, if I understand that situation, as an officer, I understand chain of command. I have to go through the chain of command on all things. And so, again, if I am reporting to my lieutenant and the lieutenant is reporting to the captain and the captain reporting to the warden, if warden comes on scene, the highest ranking official on scene is generally the one responsible. They're the ones making the call. They're the ones saying, no, go back and get this, or no, hold on, do this right here. And again, how do you fire somebody down the chain, 2 or 3 positions down the chain, when the person responsible is standing right there in charge of the situation, and you're going to fire the person down there 3 or 4, positions lower that was only following instructions. Right. They were going to do this, and you said, nope, stop, go back and do this. And now you're going to go, well, you didn't do this fast enough. And they're the ones stopping them and saying, that's what's mind-boggling to me. How do you fire that individual, hold that individual responsible, and not the others?
Right, and in that situation, not only was the warden there, but the deputy warden and the chief of security were there too. So, well, guys, I'm going to have to get off here. But I will say that, it's unfortunate for these DOC employees, or for all state employees, but the DOC's employees are really taking it in the pants. It's frustrating to know that I have had, probably about 10 different judges, 12 different judges, order my clients back to work, and I can't get them back to work yet. But we will. And then if I have to, 3 years from now, if I'm at the Oklahoma Supreme Court arguing that Dr. Whitney Lewis should get her job back, I'll be there 3 years from now, and then I'll take a big old picture with her and her $400,000 check for back pay.
Before you leave, let me ask you one question. When you win, because you not only represent these individuals, but you represent an organization of all the employees. And so when you win, but you lose, when you win a great victory, but they turn right around before you can even celebrate and slam you again and say, we're not bringing that person back. What does that do to the morale of that individual, but as well as all of those people in that association watching that?
Oh, it's demoralizing. It's demoralizing. We can, Ashley Tiefentiller said it the best when she said, after they appealed the first trial, she goes, when does it stop? Why? She was dumbfounded, and she wasn't familiar with the appeals process. And I do want to say, guys, DOC has the right under the law to appeal. But that appeal has to, in my opinion, should be based on some reasonable belief that you do have an issue of appeal, not just by, as a matter of fact, it don't matter. Lose, we're going to appeal it. And that's basically where they're at right now. They're just appealing everything. Well, and their plan needs to take everything to the Supreme Court.
But they also have a duty to do what's right, carry out justice, and to look at the facts of the case, and not to waste the state's money. They should be good stewards of the state's money. And when they totally ignore, and as you just said, Matt, you're talking about it hasn't been one judge, hasn't been two judges, it's been 10, 12 judges. When you consistently lose on that, if you had lost that many cases, would you not stop and go, I'm doing something wrong? What's going wrong here? And let's look at what's going wrong. We have a duty to make sure that we're treating our employees right. And if we're losing that many cases, I think that they have a responsibility to the public, to state Oklahoma, and to their employees to do what's right. And it's obvious they're not doing what's right.
Well, you would think that at some point someone there at DOC would sit down and do exactly what you said. Is say,
you think the governor would step up and do something about it?
Well, whether it's how they litigate, or whether it's where from the very start it's how they decide to discipline these employees, and whether or not they go through the appropriate follow the policy of progressive discipline. Whether it starts there or down the road somewhere, you're exactly right. Something's not working right. Something's not right. They're losing these cases. And listen, guys, I'm not the greatest attorney in the world. I'm just an average Joe fighting for my clients. So I'm not winning on any deep legal theories. I'm winning on the facts, and the fact that DOC won't do anything, won't call any witness. All right, I gotta go. But nope. I just asked myself, what? They appeal these cases, and like I said, the last two cases, they didn't call a single witness. Okay, and now they still have to follow the evidence code. There's rules when we do these hearings, and they have to have somebody lay the foundation for this OIG investigation report. And all that would do is require them to call one witness. But when they don't call a witness, and they don't have anybody that can say, hey, this is what this is for, this is what we do with it, this is accurate to the best of my, when they don't have anybody that will offer that as an exhibit, the judge isn't going to let it in. And it's called a objection. You didn't lay the proper foundation. Right. And that's what they've done in the last two cases. And I don't understand it, but and that's part of the reason we won. Right. I didn't even have to really focus on the facts in those two cases, because I knew, well, they're not going to call any witnesses. So,
but he brags about that. He's got the governor in his hip pocket, and he can do whatever he wants to do. That's just all there is to it.
Well, guys, I got to get off here. But before I go, I do want to. I suspect that there may be some Oklahoma professional correctional members watching this today. And if you are watching and you're a member of OCP, don't forget that on May 7th at, I believe, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
We're going to have a meeting, and I would love for any of my past clients, I'd love for you to be there. I need for you
We
to be
need
there.
people to make that meeting as we possibly can. It's time to win back not only OCP, but just win back the State Department of Corrections.
Well, I want to remind everybody about the OCP meeting. If you're a member and you're watching, don't forget it and try to make it.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks for having me
here.
I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.
We'll do it. Bob, we've got a few minutes left, and what I just want to talk about, again, we started talking about a while ago, is just what's going on. And we see it at Washington, D.C. You see this playing out in Washington, D.C. You see these, whether it be the FBI, whether it be the CIA, these intelligence agencies that are controlling everything, not answering to the people that they're supposed to answer to, whether that's due to bribery, whether that's due to they've got them in influential positions, and so they don't want to attack these agencies. There's lots of reasons why that you see these agencies controlling everything. Most of it has to do with a lot of money. And so, again, people think, well, that's Washington, D.C. We don't have that in Oklahoma. Bull crap. We've got it in Oklahoma.
Same thing. Well, JJ, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
In the last little PR they put out, is they said they got everything under control. We know what we're doing, basically, and everything's fine. So I want to know something. How many rapes did we have
Bob,
past week?
Since that, and I think I'd have to go back, but I think since that response has come out that we've seen 2 stabbed at Lawton. I think let's go back to the 14th. So since April 14th, we've seen 2 stabbed at Lawton. If I'm not mistaken, Bob, it's hard to keep up. I cannot keep up.
Well, those people, two killed.
By stabbing, I think, at Lawton. And again, these are unofficial reports. I want to go because I can't get an official report because they won't tell you the truth. So 2 stabbings at Lawton result in death, 1 OD at Hinton resulting in death, 1 stabbing at Hinton not resulting in death, and 2 stabbings in Dick Connor that I don't think have resulted in death that I know of right now.
Talk about the rapes. The PREA, they brag about how they have few PREAs, but they're not turning them in. But how many PREAs? You know, we got that one person at Hinton that several officers said that he was raped, but yet they didn't write a report on it.
Well, Bob, and again, we give the analogy the other day about K2 that when we saw, we just had an officer the other day talk about. And we've got officers coming forward, and I'm getting reports and trying to get them to the FBI and other people. And so one of these officers talked about the K2 being so bad. In fact, I said, is it like teaching children clouds in there? And they laughed, go, you're joking, but that's exactly what it's like. And so we were talking then about how that, when the drug tests get up so high, and you're showing that K2's out of control, how do you control that? Well, you just stop doing drug tests. How do you become the best in the nation at PREA? Don't turn them in. If they don't get turned in, then you got the lowest rate because nobody reported rape. So just don't report them and you'll make a great grade. And we all know that's not true. We all know what's going on. We've produced evidence after evidence. And nobody wants to pay attention. Everybody wants to ignore the situation. And Bob, what has allowed that to a huge extent, and Bob, I'm going to blame this. I always say as a Republican, when I do something, I own it. You know what I'm saying? And so we had this bill that did away with merit protection. I argued, fought it, and you do know. But the thing was, we're going to fix this. And I gave authority to a group of people that have shown me you can't depend I thought that when we saw this outside kind of a Trump factor come in the state, hey, let's fix this. Let's get it to where we can streamline things, get things done. And again, there is a reason why we had those processes in place, and those processes kept people from cronyism, favoritism, firing people, putting their best friend. And I have never seen in my career the just blatant disregard for what appearance, blatant disregard and respect for the law, blatant disregard for the state of Oklahoma, for the employees, for everybody, for legislators, for court systems. I'm going to tell you something, and DOC is the one, it's happening across the state, but DOC is the worst abuser, in my opinion. And again, you just see it constantly, Bob, whether it be in the court, whether it be go pull up their purchasing. I'm pulling up some purchasing things, 16 purchases, close to $1 million, never used a PO. Both sides are, so when you have this agency purchasing off DOC furniture, both should demand a PO, both would be using, and yet you have two agencies totally ignoring the process. And not on one, but on all these purchases, they come back and say, well, it was two agencies that we bought from, so that's not right. Well, then that makes it three agencies that violated these rules. That makes it worse, not better. They're trying to act like, oh, it's not as bad because this other one violated it too. Wow, And so, again, it's not just they're firing people to put in their best friends. That seem pretty obvious. I think we're going to see 9 lawsuits on that, somewhere close to that. But it's just firing people because they want to. It's the way they treat people. It's the way they treat their employees. And it's doing all of this other stuff. He can shoot the floor, no consequence. But you eat a piece of pizza, you're gone. It's wow. Can you believe this is happening? I mean, it's just hard to believe that it's happening, Bob. And that's because we have agencies that are out of control, unelected bureaucrats who answer to nobody. And we got a bunch of elected people who won't hold them accountable. And if you do hold them accountable, as like I do, they're going to make you out to be as, you're crazy, you're out of control, you just, make everybody mad. That's all you're up there. You don't have solutions. Bob, I got more solutions than all of them put together up there.
It doesn't matter, JJ. You could have the solution, but they won't listen to you, so it doesn't matter. But it's not it's not our job to figure out their solutions where we can tell them what they're doing wrong from what we hear. But for solutions, they say, oh, well, you never have any solutions. There's easy solutions to this. It's not a brain surgeon, but you treat people decently. You just treat them decent. You don't treat them the way you treat them like they're a dadgum dog.
Well, Bob,
I've never seen anybody. I'm telling you, I've been around a long time, JJ. I've been around a long time. I've almost was here when they had to run, but I can never believe, and I've dealt with some of the largest manufacturers in the world that I dealt with, the buyers, the president of the company, that nobody ever treated people so bad as what this Harp guy does.
Oh,
when people got on there and complained, even on his own radio, his blog deal he gets on, and talks about why we aren't like making more money. Well, if you don't like it, you quit. Now all the other people are saying the same thing. When someone says make a comment about it, all the other upper echelon employees do the same thing. They don't care.
And Bob, the fact that you take 275 and be as poorly qualified as he is, and then somebody come and try to talk about money and you say you don't like the money, leave, when you have basically embezzled, I feel like.
Now, he's never even told you how he got that raise. Has he ever told you how he got that raise?
Right. Here he is, an unelected bureaucrat, and I'm asking a legitimate question, and I can't get my people to subpoena records or to hold him accountable either. And if I write him up and try to do a probable cause for him embezzling funds, guess what? It'll be totally ignored, but I'm going to do it anyways because that's my responsibility. I'm not in charge of filing on him. What I'm in charge is calling him out. I'll do my job and call him out. And what's funny, Bob, the other day they come out and say, well, JJ lacks the experience and knowledge, and he's just full of hateful rhetoric. But, well, first of all, have I said anything that I haven't documented? Have I said anything that has been
They come back and say the very thing they're doing. They accuse you of. That's what they're doing. That's the same thing they got the Democrats doing.
Well, Bob, the person who probably put that out, and I didn't see a name with that, but I know that their communications person has less than what? If she has a year experience at the Department of Corrections, 1 year experience, I've got 35. If you want to talk about, I've forgot more than what she'll ever know. You know what I'm saying? What she knows could fill up a whole thimble. And the thing about it is you're going to sit there and say, I lack knowledge and I lack.